Hey guys, Compulsion84 here. Today I'm going to get right into it. I've got a Photoshop speed run for my YouTube channel art. So I decided I finally wanted to kind of update it. I realized my old art was kind of crappy, so I made a new one. I'm not good at Photoshop, but here's what I did at about, I don't know, I think 15 or 16 speed. So what I want to do is just kind of show you what I did. Again, I'm really bad at this. It took me like 4 hours to get to this point. I've forgotten a lot of things, didn't know how to do a lot of others, and had to find a lot of material in order to get this done. So I'm just going to kind of narrate what I'm doing. So right here, I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to have the channel name, and then I wanted to have the three things I do mainly, which is guns, gaming, and gadgets. I want to really differentiate that, and I'm trying to kind of advertise a little bit. I'm learning YouTube is kind of like a product that you're almost like selling, or like a brand. So I want it to be really clear to people what I'm doing. So what I'm doing right here is pulling a bunch of backgrounds and things like that. I had kind of poked around and gotten some ideas. I'm not a super creative person, so I had to kind of leverage off other people and, you know, use that as a jumping off point. So I pulled in some backgrounds to make it a little bit more interesting. Now I'm starting to play with the colors on the major title font. Alright, this is where I was trying to find more things just to kind of use, and this is going to be really flashy, so if you have seizures you might not want to watch this video because I'm cycling through things really freaking fast, and it kind of strobes it a bunch of times. So I was trying to get some more neat textures, patterns, etc. So I pulled a texture pack off YouTube. This wasn't really very helpful. I found it was easier for me just to go to, the Google search for modifiable free artwork or backgrounds or pictures or whatever and pull stuff from there. So I had an idea that I wanted to use a reddish background with some text. So that's what I'm trying to throw in right here. And the great font search continues. So what I'm trying to do is to add a little bit of shadow to both the fonts, and I realized I wanted the smaller one to have a bit less of a pronounced title. So here I've got a few fonts I wrote down, and I was trying to pick out the best one. So while choosing the font, I realized that I actually liked the open-ended C versus the kind of closed one, and I wanted a kind of pronounced, very clear, easy to read font. And that's how I arrived at that one. So now I start really nitpicking with glows, gradients. This is where I kind of started to drive myself insane because I don't know when to quit. Now I'm kind of comparing and tinkering around compared to some of the old backgrounds I had to see where I'm at compared to my kind of second attempt. I was trying to do here was to add some kind of shine, but I didn't do a very good job, so I ended up kind of deleting it. Right now I'm tinkering with the different overlay options and things like that, because again, I don't know Photoshop real well, so I was kind of learning what to do, trying to figure out which option worked best, and trying to mess with the opacity settings and things like that. So now's where I start flipping between different iterations, trying to find out what I like the very best. Getting a general idea of what I like the look of and trying to just kind of starting to optimize it a little bit, getting the spacing just perfect, all that sort of stuff. It's for me, it's a really iterative process. I don't know what to do, so I just have to kind of see what looks good and go from there. The battle with inner and outer glow continues. And now is the fight over trying to get a good light color, but also having a gradient and hopefully going to blue. I didn't just want some really weird, light, weird, crappy blue. I wanted something darker that transitioned to a lighter one, but I had a really hard time getting that right, and I spent way too much time doing that. So now I'm actually giving it a shot and seeing what it looks like on the banner. It's a little bit different than Photoshop. I realized when I was checking on mobile that the Guns Gaming and Gadgets was getting cut off by the little profile picture thumbnail thing, so I had to offset it a little bit, which I actually liked all in all. I think it worked better below the Compulsion 84. So, you know, two birds with one stone. I could see it on mobile and on tablet, and it in my opinion, transitioned a little better. I'm starting to get through the home stretch and see what I finally arrived at. So that's where I stopped recording. I actually stayed up way too late on a work night messing around with this and got to something that I was not completely happy with. The way I found my best process works, not only with creative things, but with analytical stuff as well, is to kind of take a really good hack at it and then come back like the next day or you know, much later that day once you had a time to kind of process it, come back with fresh eyes. So that's exactly what I did. The next day I came back and looked at it and I was like, nah, these colors weren't quite right. It didn't quite go there. It just wasn't quite good. And I looked at it a couple times throughout the day. I just took a break here or there and just looked at it, and I jotted down my notes. So when I came back after dinner or whatever the next day, I had tweaked everything a little bit more, and I'll show you that right here, which is the current banner I've got up there. And I did a bunch of little tweaks. I got the color how I wanted. I wanted the stripe pattern behind it to be a little bit more pronounced. So I strengthened that a little bit. I wanted it to be kind of a red. I don't really have a fixed channel color, but I do like the color red a lot. So I was trying to kind of keep to that because that's what I'm sort of gravitating towards. So I got the nice red background, I think the real crisp subtext, and the Compulsion 84 kind of header. I actually shrunk down and resized a bit because on mobile it was downright obnoxious, and on desktop it was you know, okay. So now I've got it at something that I feel isn't super overpowering, and in my opinion looks good. And again, I'm not a graphic designer, I'm an engineer and borderline robotic sometimes. So for me, this is kind of an ongoing process. I'm learning, I'm trying to see what's appealing to the eye and stuff like that. So I really would like to know your feedback on my new channel art. Let me know what looks good. If you have any suggestions, please throw those out. Again, constructive criticism. I'm not necessarily good at this. This is by no means showing off, but just giving you kind of look behind the scenes, some of the things you do with a YouTube channel. Again, it took me, this is like 4 hours of work one night and another hour or two the next night. Granted, I'm really bad at Photoshop, but there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes on YouTube, and I figure I like really relating with everybody on the channel, and you know, people seem to be interested in what I'm doing, what I'm up to, and I think people might like to see just kind of like a peek behind the curtain and what's going on. So I'm probably gonna make a couple more videos in a similar vein. I want to do one to in a very succinct way, show the editing process, you know, other stuff like that. People, you know, briefly show how I capture stuff. And most of them won't be this long. This one I originally had at 21 or 25 speed, but it was absolute nonsense. You just couldn't tell what was going on. I wanted to slow this one down more so you could really see what I was doing, but at 10x it would have been over 10 minutes, and that would have just been too much. So I think I reached a good balance there. Again, let me know what you think. Whatever you've got in the comments, that'd be great. If you enjoy this, you know, shoot me a like. That's always nice. I think that's really all I've got right here. Originally, I was just going to capture it, and then when I was watching it to do some edits and stuff like that, I was like, maybe I should put some voice overlay in there. So make it a little bit more personal. I'm going to throw in some music and hopefully get it blended so it's not terrible. We'll see how it turns out. So again, I'm Compulsion84, and I make gun, gaming, and gadget-related videos. If you enjoy what I do, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate you watching this, and I'll see you in the next video.